Hello, people. Happy New Year, and I hope everyone's had a nice Christmas. It's New Year's Day now, and I thought I'd just do a follow on video from my last one. Is it a follow on? I sort of links in, I suppose, um, as we get through it. But I was watching a YouTube channel which sort of inspired me to do this, John Nolan, and his title was Are Humans Addicted to Suffering? Or are humans programmed to suffer? And of course, from that, it would be where does the suffering come from in the first place? So, there's so much suffering in the world. I mean, I suppose there always has been, really, but it's either one thing or another, whether it's hunger, war, money, drugs, alcohol, grief. I mean, these are all pretty significant things that people will suffer from. But of course, in the West, we are quite privileged, aren't we, really, in the fact that our lives are, well, they're so much better than the lives in Gaza or Sudan or in other places around the world. So we're quite lucky, and our basic survival needs are generally taken care of. By the way, if you think I'm whispering, it's because I am. Because the little one's in bed and I don't want to disturb, and the wife's in the other room and I don't want to disturb her either from what she's doing. So I'm not getting too excitable. And yeah, anyway. So let's go back and look at, is suffering, are humans programmed to suffer? Well, we're sponges, aren't we, humans? And we absorb everything that our surroundings, uh, you know, we absorb all of our surroundings and every little thing. And all of us have watched a zillion movies in the past, haven't we? And within the movies, specifically in most epic blockbusters, or in just general B-rated movies, it's always suffering. You never get away from it. And the main characters are always suffering, aren't they? They're always some sort of drunken or depressed or unhappy, traumas, you know, self troubled in some way. I mean, just look at the Marvels and all those superheroes, you know, Batman, Spider Man, Peter Parker, Spider Man. He's got a load of issues. And Batman's like just really dark, isn't it? It's really dark. Um, and they all have their traumas, these heroes. And of course, in the films, that the heroes always conquers all, and eventually transcends all their suffering and everyone else's in that case. But in the movies, suffering is very much glamorized, even romanticized to the maximum, isn't it? And you know, it's virtuous to be a victim, and I can't help to think that's done on purpose, you know, because we're all sponges and we're all absorbing all this in, aren't we? You know, and it's in all the songs and some fiction books. It's everywhere. All our media and all our entertainment is full of it. Even our history is full of it. All the way history is taught, isn't it? Our great men and women who triumph over great adversities and stuff like that. It's all programming. It's all going into the subconscious keeping our conscious mind contained in a certain, well, and subconscious mind in a certain mindset, a certain way of being, you know. And I always find funny is that why do people who have just broken up from a relationship go and repeatedly listen to sad songs, or to watch a sad rom-com, after they've broken up? It's, to me, it's just madness. Just keeps them locked into the experience of suffering. It's like they're programmed to do it, and from that programming comes the addiction of it. Because they'll listen to 1,000 love songs or 1,000 watch 1,000 rom-coms, and it just keeps them trapped into this cycle of pain. And I'd much rather go and be by myself and meditate, but or if I was going to watch anything, watch a comedy or something. I definitely think humans are addicted to suffering, which will be from their programming. So, why do people suffer? Loads of reasons, isn't it? But ultimately, it's from the ultimate suffering is fear from death. And I suppose you could break it down into subgroups like rejection, anxiety, stress. What would happen if I don't do this? What would happen if I don't do that, etc., etc. Or you might suffer health concerns, and you go rushing off to the doctor to be saved by the magic white coat. Please beg them for pills because your survival depends on it. And of course, 90% of the time it doesn't, and the body will just heal itself, just given the right environment. But nevertheless, humans do this, especially in the West. And I think that's very much a programming as well. The healthiest people on the planet are the tribes people in the Amazon and so on. Yet they're not rushing off getting filled with pills so they rattle. And I think it's around 50% of Western society is on prescription drugs to alter their perceived reality, to alter their perceived experience. They're on antidepressants and stuff like this, aren't they? That's a shitload of people who are suffering. And one might say, not that I want to validate them, but what are they suffering from if they're in the West, where their survival needs are taken care of? So I think we've been conditioned and programmed. Otherwise we wouldn't be. We wouldn't be suffering, not in our society. But if you think about it, all our systems are set up for suffering, whether it's the monetary system and having to pay all the insurances and taxes and stuff like that. I mean, if you're fairly wealthy, you could easily see 80% of your wage going in some form of direct or indirect tax. The education system is set up for suffering. Social systems are all set for suffering. And within those systems, you always have to compete against others, don't you? So you have to beat others. You have to get the promotion, or you have to be in the top 10% or 20% in your education to get recognized as being someone. Other than if you're not the 20%, then you're nobody if you don't pass the exams and so on. Everyone's competing with each other, and that's going to obviously have a lot of suffering, because we're not meant to be that way. I don't believe we should be anyway. And I see things slightly different. If I'm winning, that means someone else is losing. So I do see it slightly different. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong in winning, and there's nothing wrong in losing, but you can see where the suffering comes from. So what do people generally do to relieve the symptoms? Well, some people will change their environment or their location and so on, or some people change their personal circumstances. Some people change their whole world, their whole life, to get away from this suffering. But it just follows them, doesn't it? It just follows them. It doesn't matter where they go, because the suffering is within your mind, it's within your head. And I think mainly because the cause or the root of this suffering is the attachment to your identity, your conditioned identity. And of course, from that, the body is suffering through its senses. I suppose that's where it ties into my other video. So if you haven't seen my other video, you might want to take a look. It sort of explains how this world, illusory world, sort of runs. But yeah, the attachment to one's identity, and in this so-called, what we would call real identity, this living identity, let's say, it is false. It's not real. It's not as it is, hence the other video. Hence why it's sort of like a follow-on. So where should I go from this? So the vessel that is talking to you right now, this vessel, is having the experiences of the five senses, and so on. It's also having my mind, this mind is also having an experience of lots of thoughts and feelings and emotions and memories that are going through it. But if we just allow them all to pass through meditation, or any sort of form of meditation, really. So, if the sensations just drift on by and you don't pay any real attention to them, if the thoughts drift on by and you don't pay any attention to them, and if the memories drift on by and you don't really pay any attention to it, eventually what will happen, and it will happen, the thing is, most people don't sit for long enough or meditate for long enough to allow it to happen, because they're suffering, aren't they? Because their mind won't allow them to switch off. But if you can sustain it for long enough, eventually, how can I describe this? Other doors will open, your mind expands into different dimensions. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it. And you have a much greater experience than what you would do before. And then again, if you stay with that experience and see it for what it is, and then another door opens, and then another door opens, and then eventually you get to the true source of things, where your true self recognizes itself, is a way that I can only explain it, I suppose. And this is where your self-identity that we're so trapped in completely drops off. And so does any suffering drops off as well, because if the identity is gone, then the fear of death is also gone. the anxiety is gone, the trauma is gone, the depression has gone, the pain has gone because you've transcended the body as well. So when you get to this state of recognition, it's so difficult to describe, there is just oneness. And I've been in the oneness many times. And it's just a beautiful place to reside in. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything beyond the oneness. Maybe there is. I've not got there. I feel that there isn't anything beyond that, although there might be. So I'm a curious bloke. I shall keep sitting and keep trying to get that experience as much as I can, because it's blissful. It's absolutely blissful, that experience. And again, like, it's blissful because you're not suffering mind or body. It's not there. The identity, the mind identity and the body identity, of which in that dimension does not exist. So you sort of live in two dimensions at the same time. The perceived dimension, of which appears to be so real, and the knowing or the awareness dimension, which is aware of the perceived one. So to exist on this earth, or some might say within God's dream, but I don't want to go too off, too woo-woo. We only suffer within when the awareness is trapped in the perceived reality, in the perceived dimension. That's when we suffer. We don't suffer in the other one. So the more you can recognize the awareness that is aware, the oneness, or the more times that you can, even if you only peep over the veil just for a second or two, because it only needs a second, one experience of a second would be enough to awaken you to the true self, the true you. And when suffering arises, then you can just remind yourself to go into that knowing, and then this suffering just drops off. It's just amazing. When you recognize your true being, it all just drops off. So I hope that's helpful to you, but it does need to be experienced. It needs to be experienced, so you need to practice it to benefit from its fruits. Anyway, talking about practice, we are starting next week. Looking forward to it. I can't wait to see you all, and love you all, and God bless.